The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on Sunday.
This is about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Oh, guns.
Giddy up.
What do you do when there's two co-hosts? Like, one's supposed to say guns up.
What do you say, Drew? What do you say? What's your tag, Drew?
I don't know. Wake up, America. Wake up, America. I'm Drew Breasy. This is Drew Breasy.
How
about that?
You made it yours.
I didn't mean to do that.
The line. What's up, guys?
Are you with us, Eric?
There we go. Are we on? Am I on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, geez. Oh, is it? Can we buy a show? Can we buy a show without any technical difficulties? I don't think we can.
No.
Welcome to Failure to Stop. This is a breaking news special. We have Chris Todd on with us, who reached out to us earlier this afternoon that wanted to give us some information that he has. He's been following this case very closely. Again, we're talking about the Delphi murder case. This isn't a scheduled program. If you're tuning in for the first time, we are the Failure to Stop podcast, the #1 show where police meets society and culture. We do 4 shows a week. Monday is Off the Cuff with Mike the Cop and He Big Daddy, which is bringing you all the police-related news. Tuesday night is Night Shift with the beautiful and audacious Andrea Upley, giving us all the mayhem and murder that comes with true crime, and I react to it as a former law enforcement officer. On Thursdays, we have Last Call, which is everything else but the job, so you don't sound like an asshole over the weekend to your civilian friends. And Friday is our case breakdown with Mike the Cop, Drew Breasy, or myself, Drew Breasy being a retired detective and law enforcement officer out of Florida. But tonight we're breaking all the rules and going live 1 hour early with Mr. Todd here to go over some of the things that he's been covering in the Delphi case. And I had to bring out the big guns. I had to bring on Andrea and Drew, because there's no way I can handle this by myself. So Chris, welcome to Failure to Stop, buddy.
Thank you very much for having me here. Appreciate it.
And I'm just going to open it up to Drew and Andrea. They're going to ask you some questions, and I'm just going to kind of play producer here and put up your banners and just kind of work my way through engaging the chats, if you will.
Well, hey, Chris, how you doing? It's Drew here. I hope you don't mind, Andrea, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your qualifications, what where you came from and whatnot.
Sure, yeah. My name's Chris Todd. I'm an investigative producer and author here in Los Angeles, California. I work cold case murders. I do civilian, and I also do famous cases. A lot of people know me from a couple famous Hollywood stories. And I wrote 3 books. I wrote a book on Delphi that just published 3 days before they arrested Richard Allen. So the Delphi case I've been on for 3 years with the family members, some private investigators. And so I like to claim that I solve murders. I don't talk about murders, I solve them. So that's kind of my shtick. And for some people, it's kind of hard, but I've been in lawsuits with killers before, and I've beaten them all. So I'm happy to be here. And the Delphi story is a big story. It's really crazy right now, and it's going 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think right off the rip. Hey, nice to meet you, Chris. Yeah, I think my first question, just based off of what you said, I'm kind of doing, this is a cold call for myself and maybe Drew as well, because I know Eric talked with you earlier, so I haven't gotten to talk with you and, ask a lot of questions, but mentioned that you work with some of the favors from the case in Delphi, is that right?
Yeah, I befriended one of the girl's mothers about 3.5 years ago, and I know.
Do you mind if I ask which girl? Which mother?
I'd rather just not say their name right now.
Okay.
I mean, we can as we go, because
Sure.
I have texts and all my stuff logged with them. I know both mothers. I know both of them.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
What made you want to come on? What made you want to reach out to us and come on tonight?
Well, I saw you guys. I searched the Delphi stuff I'm fielding a lot of calls right now from some reporters in Indianapolis, also national. I'm supposed to go on TV on this Saturday live. We were supposed to go last Saturday. It didn't happen. The lawyers got a little scared because I named Ron Logan as the murderer of Abbie and Libby. No one can change that fact. So we'll go into that. But I saw you guys talking about it, and the media, I have a strange relationship with the media. I worked in Hollywood for 20 years, and a lot of the media, they don't let me talk. They will not let me solve. I did a couple famous cases, did a child's murder. They will not let me talk to the general public. So I reach out a lot of times to kind of smaller venues, podcasters, independent journalists, and that's how I saw you guys, and I reached out to you.
We appreciate you reaching out to us. What before we get started, I know you don't have a lot of time, and we don't have a lot of time because we have another show at 8 p.m. What is the name of your book?
My book is called Forest for the Trees. I have I have the proof version, but it has the line across it. But this is it's on Amazon. It's going to be on Book Depository, Powell's Books. So it says how an Indiana farmer murdered 2 teenage girls and a nation turned a blind eye.
And so you sound like you're kind of pretty sold on the fact that Ron would be the murderer of this case. What brought you to that conclusion, and why are you so passionate that he is in fact the killer in this case?
Sure. So, going back 3 years, I already knew it was Ron Logan. So when I told one of the mothers, I think you need to look at Ron Logan. He has the same limp as the guy on the bridge. He walks the same. He's the same height and weight. His voice is the same. Now, remember, the search warrant, the FBI search warrant was not out yet. No one knew all the evidence against Ron Logan. They didn't even see that. Why was that hidden for 5 years? See, so in the beginning, I kind of knew. And look, was I willing to bet the bank on it that it was Ron Logan? No, I wasn't. And I walked away from the case for 2 years. When the FBI search warrant was released by accident, supposedly at the courthouse, and those podcasters got a copy of it and stamped their name all over it, they released a potentially sealed FBI search warrant. That's a felony. Okay? If it's unsealed and nobody's pressed charges against them, everybody has it. I sent it to you, right? You have it?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay?
Yep, we got it.
Well, guess whose name it says all over the search warrant? Ron Logan. That's weird. So why is it saying Ron Logan's cell phone pings at the bridge at 2:09 p.m. and it also says he pings by the bodies at 8 and 10 p.m. What's up?
But is Ron Logan, now on that real quick, just to debate you on a ping could be like a 5-mile circle. So if Ron Logan's property, okay,
am
I wrong?
Not based on what the FBI agent says. They say you cannot specifically hit an exact location, right?
Right.
But in the search warrant, she says he's outside of his house and he's in the vicinity of the Monon Bridge.
So is it triangulated to the bridge?
Yes, she says it in the affidavit under oath with the judge. The judge
So
signs off.
She says triangulate.
Well, it doesn't word to use triangulate.
Triangulated just means when several cell towers are pinged, they can.
I mean,
kind of
yeah,
guess.
yeah. I don't look. I'm not a
Okay.
cop.
No. I just didn't know if that was in there or not. And
they don't
you're
use
saying that was
the word. Yeah.
Okay.
They don't use the word triangulation. That's not in the search warrant. What she's saying is at 2:09 p.m., his phone, he makes a phone call to someone at 2:09 p.m. So it sets off the ping, right?
Right.
She says he's in the vicinity of the Monon Bridge in writing. So whether she's right or wrong, look, I have to go by what an FBI Quantico trained agent says, right?
Sure.
People try to discredit everything. When you say Ron Logan's name, they come up with these wild, oh, that's not him. Oh, really? Let me ask you a question too. You guys seem like pretty intelligent people. Do you ever notice that the guy on the bridge guy, is wearing a camouflage hat that's tan colored? And in the interview with Emily Longnecker, Ron Logan's wearing a tan camouflage cap and the identical jacket. What's up? Why is he
That, I
wearing the
saw
same
that
clothes?
post. I saw that going around the interwebs for a while. I never knew if it was a real image or photoshopped or not, but I have
No.
seen that one flying around quite a bit.
There's nothing. That's real image. And I sent you that photo overlay that takes Ron Logan and the bridge guy and overlays them of him walking his dog.
I do
Now
think that's
that
interesting.
whole-
I'm going to bring that up really quick for Andrea and for, I know that I emailed you this, but emailed you guys both this, but we didn't have a lot of time to review it because you just called us.
Yeah.
But here's an overlay. You can see the overlay of person B and the suspect is suspect A. What they did was they took a picture of, I'm guessing, Ron Logan walking his dog,
Right.
and then they overlaid it with a picture from the bridge as suspect A. And it is very close. Now, I wasn't able to get the other image on here where they had drawn a graph to kind of triangulate the belly, and where the belly starts and where it stops. But that all looked very convincing to me. Drew, as a detective, what do you think about that?
I think one of the first things you're going to do when you, granted, this is an alert. This isn't video surveillance. Well, it is video surveillance, but let's just say, for example, there's a robbery at a convenience store. One of the first things you're going to do when you go to make that arrest of the person that's in your alert that you've created from the video is look to see what clothing he's wearing. You're going to look at things like his gait, and you're going to look at, all that other stuff. So, I mean, this is compelling. The problem is this court tested in the sense that I don't know the veracity of these images. Like, was this stretched?
So that's my question. How far? Not to interrupt you, Drew. There's with so many of us, it's hard. But with what's the likelihood that this stuff, like how much does this hold up in court, or how likely is it that we can find someone else with fairly the same body, like let's say the guy that has been charged? And forgive me, Chris, I'm not trying to dispute everything that you say, right? There's a lot of reference to this case. And so there's a lot of, there's just going to be questions, right? So with this overlay of a gait and a walk, I understand why it's important. And I understand where it can definitely show similarities. But let's say the guy that's just been charged, what's the likelihood that if his body type is the same and he walks with a similar gait, would we likely get the same results from an overlay with him as well, or anyone else that might have similarities there? I don't know how that particular technology works.
Sure. Well, this is the first thing you need to know. So that document that he just put up, no one has that but me.
Okay.
That document is from the prosecutor's office in Delphi. That was leaked to me by the Leos, the law enforcement officers. No one has that document. So that's from the prosecutor, and the state of Indiana commissioned it in 2017 to look at Ron Logan as bridge guy. Why was that never
Sure.
published?
Drew, do you know the answer?
No,
about
the answer. I'm sorry. The answer to
about
Well,
just like how
my point is, well, let me try to say this part. So the person who does that is the top expert, is a forensic photo analyst at another police agency in the country, literally one of the top people. That's why I blocked their name out.
was this attached as an exhibit to the search warrant out of curiosity? Or was this after
part of what
the search?
No, this this is done around the time, but no one knows the search warrant's out. It's 2017. It's all in the same kind of vicinity. Weeks, months. This is when they commission. So that document was leaked to me by the Leos with 3 written statements from guys on the case, and they gave me that diagram. I wasn't allowed to show that for 4 weeks.
Hey, Chris, guys, everyone, if I can, just let's get rid of the elephant in the room, Chris, because I sense that you think that perhaps we're just trying to poke a bunch of holes in your story.
No,
or
I'm not. No.
Okay, all right. I just want to be very clear about this. You've been through this more than once. You've been sued more than once, and we're giving you the platform to say whatever you want, and we're going to challenge you with a few questions. You're dealing with 2 ex-cops, and above all 3 of us are parents. So, obviously Abbie and Libby are at the forefront of our minds, and we don't want to jeopardize anything in the case. So we just want to make sure that, we're doing everything in good faith when we talk to you. So please don't take anything personal if we're trying to poke holes.
Well, and also, you ask me, I want you to challenge me. I want you to say it's bull crap. Because then
what would make the LEOs choose you to be the whistleblower? How did they come up with your name? How did they find you? And why? What was their motive to whistleblow? Because I know as a law enforcement officer, I generally veered away from PIs because you could usually find yourself in more trouble working with them than anything else. There were caveats to that, but you were very careful about it. And of course I'm from a bigger agency, so we really didn't need to get involved. And I know it's different for smaller agencies like Delphi, but what would be the police motive here to want to go work with a PI and risk getting fired or whatever it is to whistleblow you? What was their motive?
Right. So I am partnered with I'm not a private investigator. I'm an investigative producer. I'm not a licensed PI, just so I say that. I am partnered with a private investigator who these Leos reached out to. They didn't know he knew me. Okay. They didn't know Chris Todd was with him. So initially the PI, which I helped get on Court TV, I leaked a bunch of stuff to Court TV and they brought on this private investigator instead of me. This goes back to, they won't let me talk. Okay. So I let him go on. He went on the show with Vinnie Politan. This was about 2 months ago. And these Leos saw him say Ron Logan's name. So they emailed him and they started to squeal in writing. Now, when his name is Jason, the PI, when Jason came to me and said, you need to see this. And I was like, okay, what is it? He started to email me the stuff. And then I was able to meet the Leos and we talked on the phone for 3 hours. Okay. I was brought in because I'm a whistleblower myself. I am a police informant in LA. So I've done very dangerous criminal, like organized crime cases. And I was a whistleblower myself. So I could relate to them. And I told the PI right in the beginning, if these policemen are putting something in writing, that means they want to talk. That means they're leaking you stuff. And he's like, holy cow, I can't believe it. So I said, get me on the phone with them. We established a relationship. I just talked to them today. Just a lot of stuff going on. Their phones are blowing up, like with the Richard Allen. And they say in writing, it's Ron Logan. That's what they say to Jason.
In your experience as an informant, you understand that you're only as good as the information. Your information is only as good as the officer's verification efforts once you give them information. So what are your verification efforts that your PI is giving you truthful information?
Well, I know the Leos now. I personally know them.
So you're working directly with,
I'm directly with them.
Okay.
I'm the only one who has the statements and I'm the only one who's been given the green light to go to the media. No one else. Now,
okay. In what sense are you given the green light and who gave you the green light? You know, like you don't have to give a name, but who is giving you, what's that?
The Leos gave me the green light. Yeah. Okay. They're in my book. So when you turn to the chapter Leo Whistleblowers, chapter 4.
Got it.
So their statements, they're redacted because I won't reveal who they are. So their statements are right here.
Okay. That's very interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and put the whistleblowers statement up there. It says, for those of you who can't see it, it says, sir, good day to you. My name is blank, and I was the blank with the blank in blank. I was blank, and I am now a blank. So just introducing himself. He could be a detective, he could be an officer, yada. But those are good redactions, and I appreciate that you put those in this letter, and I'm sure the officer appreciates it too. I was given a link to the video on blank where you spoke about the Delphi murders of Abbie and Libby. There are several of us that blank and blank feel strongly believe that Ronald Logan committed the murders. However, the powers that be did not agree with us, and they are going after Keegan Kline. I do not believe it is him or any of his contacts that committed these murders. I have spoken to several blanks along with taking a few blank, the one that I believe that it was more than likely Ronald Logan who committed the murders, have been pressured by our blank, especially blank of the blank to keep our mouths shut. It is very sad that the investigation has taken the course it has. The confusion about the second sketch leaves everybody confused. Do you know anything about the, before I continue on, can you tell us about that second sketch and why that second sketch was so different? I know Andrea talked a lot about it when she covered this in the original case that she broke to us. She did a wonderful job on it. It was very detailed. I encourage everybody to go back and look at it. It gives you the full scope of this. But Andrea mentioned that it was very odd that these sketches were so different.
And why do you have sketches when you have photographs and a video? Why are you doing a pencil sketch?
Well, the quality was not ideal, right?
Right.
Unless there's an explanation for the video. In other words, they've excluded the guy in the video, which I don't believe they ever did, but
no, I don't think so.
That could explain that away.
Well, they did say Ron Logan didn't do it. They told the families he was cleared 3 times over the years. They kept saying, did Ron Logan do it? No, he's cleared. So that was all pushed aside. Neither of those sketches look like Ronald Logan. The guy on the bridge does not have a goatee. It's a mustache. There's no goatee. So also the 2 sketches are complete opposites of each other. What does that tell you right there? Right? They don't know what's going on. Right?
That
now,
or there's 2 people and they just haven't given us that information.
Well, and look, now when we put the Richard Allen picture, when we put the Richard Allen picture up and we put both sketches next to him, does he kind of look like the younger guy? A little bit, right? So what the Leos are trying to tell you, and they told me also, is they were making a sketch of someone who was already a criminal that they knew was a criminal. You saw the photos of the guy. I forgot his name. He's got the wide nose and the goatee, and he looks kind of crazy. They were trying to get people to bring tips that he's the guy. That's why the Leos say
the guy that, excuse me, that's the guy that was already in jail, right? Isn't he currently serving time somewhere?
Yeah, one of them died, right?
Not Keegan. I think you mean the one that they show side by side with the sketch, right?
Yeah,
and that's not the guy that they arrested.
Yeah, the Kegan Klein thing is a ruse. Just so you know, that is a complete smokescreen.
Okay.
So let's talk about this then. So Ron Logan at the time, I believe he was 77, right? When this happened?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess what's the thought? And I'm actually not asking you to go into detail about how the murder took place or anything like that. Like, I feel like it's moot if we're saying this is the wrong guy that's being arrested, right? But
I'm not
know
saying
that
it's the
ravine
wrong
was,
guy.
or excuse me, you say that someone else for sure is implicated in addition.
Yeah.
Or that Ron is the one on the bridge, right?
I'm saying Ron Logan is bridge guy, period. That's it.
Okay.
He's the bridge guy.
Okay.
If
Right.
Richard Allen is
yeah. So Chris, and that is a question I have. I mean, you could say Ron Logan is bridge guy. Can you say bridge guy is the murderer?
Yes.
Okay.
Bridge guy didn't.
If he didn't
just all if
slit their
we're
throats-
spitballing.
Yeah. If he didn't slit their throats, doesn't matter. He masterminded it. He walked him down the hill at gunpoint. He's double murder. I don't care if he slit him and Richard Allen slit him, somebody else. There's rumors now.
So aside from that, so we were just talking about was like cause of death stuff. But like if he was 77, I guess I'm going back to, I think he was in decent physical health. If I remember correctly, he still had a decent bit of land and he traversed that land. He had different outbuildings and things like that. So it wouldn't surprise me. He knows that land. He's lived there forever. I'm sure he can get down that ravine. But I guess if we're looking at a potential additional accomplice, then maybe he would not have, this is all everybody listening, this is so hypothetical at this point, right? What I'm saying, I don't know. Just want to disclaim that. But if what you're saying is the case, if Ron Logan is bridge guy, then I guess he wouldn't have to fall back on his physical attributes too much if he could, in whatever way, convince the girls to get down. And then let's say the guy that they've arrested or the other accomplice is already at the bottom waiting. Then maybe he wouldn't have to be so physically astute to wrestle two girls, because that's something we talked about before too. You're either subduing them or scaring them with a gun. You're doing something to get two healthy teenage girls, as one person down this very steep terrain.
Yes, and also now the FBI agent says in the search warrant, Ron Logan moves up and down the hills with no problem. There is a steep incline that comes off of his property that goes straight down. It's pretty steep. There's video of him walking up and down it. It's on YouTube. So there's no issue with him. That's what the Leos say. The reason ISP and the Keiko sheriff didn't want to say it was Ron Logan because they said he was too old. That's
I don't think he had trouble walking it, but walking it with two healthy individuals is a different story, right? When you're trying to subdue two other, that's what I meant. Yeah. Well,
and also I've talked about this with other people too. Were the girls frozen in fear? Right? Kids freeze. Like they will. I have kids myself. They'll freeze. If it's an awkward situation, they don't know you. You say, come here. They will. They will. They won't run away all the time. Yeah. So you're right. If Richard Allen's waiting for him, Ron Logan tells him it's on. Meet me at my property on the other side of the creek. Boom. I'll be there until he comes, parks. He lives down the street. He could walk there. Richard Allen.
Now, I guess it would be harder to commit a crime with two people because now you have two separate people who, have to keep their mouths shut, yada, yada, yada. And of course there's some more playing. I mean, hell, it's hard doing a podcast interview with four people, much less trying to murder somebody. What would be the connection between Ron Logan and Richard Allen? Is it Richard Allen?
Yes, Ricky Allen.
Yeah.
What would be their connection? And do we have a connection with the two? Are they friends? Do we know that they're friends? Are they Facebook official? I don't know.
Sure. And that's a great question. And right now, that's the big question is, does anybody have photos of Richard Allen with Ronald Logan? I do not. Okay. I don't. The people in Delphi, all the people I've talked to, some of the family members, I text the grandmother and one of the moms all the time, twice a week. Okay. Right now, they're saying they know each other. They live down the street from each other. So did Ron Logan know him at the pharmacy because he goes in to get medication? Maybe. Is there some crazy hard evidence? No. So it's a good question you asked.
So another thought is that, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Oh, sorry. Well, just another thought is that with Richard Allen working in CVS, we know from different accounts that we've heard that that's a CVS that I know Kelsey has gone into. So maybe, potentially the girls recognized his face as well. I guess that wouldn't be to your point that Ron Logan is bridge guy, because that would mean that they would have to see Richard Allen first. But that's just a thought also that's been swirling, is that they potentially have gotten accustomed or familiar with Richard Allen's face, if that's in fact the local CVS that they go to.
Tell me Richard Allen's the fucking photo guy. Tell me he's all those photo lab guys are kind of creepy. There's a creepiness about him.
He is the photo guy. Or I think he worked.
I can't substantiate.
He was.
He was the photo guy.
No way.
He handed the funeral photos to a family member.
To Kelsey.
No way.
To Kelsey, the sister.
And said, this is on us.
Free of charge. Free of charge, yes.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I don't know if that's 100% true. I read it on the internet.
That's exactly what I was about to say, that I can't substantiate, but that I keep reading. And so I thought, if Kelsey, now it goes to show that he's going to know Kelsey. It's a small town, so everyone, wherever the family goes, people that work in the stores are going to recognize them. Now, I don't know how often they go in there, but it would stand to be that, your local store that you go in, you see the same faces. So if they do, then the girls, potentially could have recognized his face.
But this is my fear, Chris. Like, a lot of this stuff in a major case like this gets sensationalized, and some of the information gets stretched. And you start. You take, for example, like a Richard Jewell from Centennial Park in Atlanta during the Olympics, and how he was, all of a sudden everybody made the connection that he was some kind of homegrown terrorist, and they turned him into the bomber. And fully realizing and understanding how it works, there was obviously probable cause to charge Ricky with this crime, or they wouldn't have had the press conference to discuss it. But in any of your travels or any of your discussions with informants or with Leos or PIs or family members, was there ever mention of a co-conspirator, or was Richard Allen ever named, or any associate of what's his face?
Right. So just to quickly comment. So the woman put up a quote there and said, that is a true story. He gave the photos to them for free. She's saying it right here. So that is true. That's from the family. So
yeah, for those of you who are just listening on podcast, Penelope G says the grandparents confirmed it on camera yesterday that the photos from the CVS are real, and then Mr. Todd here is also confirming that that is true. So we'll just take it on that value that you're right. Now I want to go back to the whistleblower because I've only read part of that document. I'd like to read just a little bit more of the document. This is a whistleblower. This is a law enforcement officer that sent this document to you that says that they were told to keep their mouths shut about Ronald Logan being the murderer here. The confusion about the second sketch leaves everybody confused. The second sketch was purposely drawn up to try and make a suspect that they had with another murder. That's what you just told us. They thought that by releasing that sketch, it would bring in tips that would point in the other guy. And this is hard for me to read because it's so small. It never did, and it never will, and it derailed the investigation. I agree with you 100% on what you had to say in reference to the investigation. I'm sorry this email is not about investigations for you to do. I understand that I did want you to know that you are the first person on my blank that I have seen that I believe is right on the mark. It makes it extremely hard to go to work every day knowing that this case has been fouled up so badly. Thank you for your time, and I would appreciate it if you blank, blank, blank from blank, blank. Also, if you need proof of who I am, I can provide that. Thank you, and have a great day. I have written a similar letter for a case, not so much to whistleblow. There was no clout behind it, but it was something that I had to do because another officer had fouled things up pretty bad. He was facing some charges. And when I got my statement, they brought me my statement to show me the redactions. My redactions were very similar to the way yours are. I'm not saying that I'm confirming that this document you shared with me is real. I'm just saying it looks pretty convincing to me as far as just me sitting here in my opinion.
You can show the other ones. You can put the other ones.
Whistleblower number 2. Whistleblower number 2 says, hello, Mr. Blank. I just received word that an attorney is looking to take on my case in reference to me being blank and a few other things. I will check with him about the whistleblower protection and ask him about the cover-up or at very least the gross negligence of blank. I find it extremely disheartening that they do not understand and have not educated themselves about the type of murder that had occurred. I'm not sure how to or where to start with exposing the wrongdoings of this investigation. I would very much like any and all information you might be able to provide for me. I have spoken to blank that blank and blank and blank told me that he does not feel the investigation has been handled correctly, but he is afraid to say anything in fear that they would simply stop in the investigation. I have grown tired of everyone telling me to just go quietly and try blank in a blank. At what point do you draw the line in the sand? Again, I enjoyed watching you speak about the case, and it made me feel like I have a second wind. Thank you again. I do appreciate you reaching back to me, giving me hope. Have a wonderful week. And what was that whistleblower for? Was that a separate one from the first one?
I have multiple. There's multiple Leos here.
Okay, and I'm going to read this one that was delivered on September 11th, a day that'll live in infamy, 2022. Message, sorry to bother you, but I thought you might find it interesting that blank at the time by the name of blank asked me to look into the following experts. Blank, who is a blank, did the following body comparisons. Blank is in the blank for the most convictions based on blank work. When I presented these to blank, no one took it seriously. Anyways, I won't keep bothering you. Take care.
So I'll reveal right now, just to give a little tease. what he's saying right there, I was commissioned by Robert Ives, the lead prosecuting attorney on the case. That's what I redacted. That's Robert Ives. He's not there anymore. He retired. It's now Nick McClelland. So
is that some type of was that some type of forensic investigator that was giving you that information?
He commissioned the prosecutor, Robert Ives, commissioned the Leos to go have someone do this comparison, and they went out and they found this person who's a top expert in the field.
Okay.
And then like then they're saying nobody believed us anyway. So
what would be the cover up? What would be the cover up? I'm sorry, Drew.
No, that's all right. Go ahead. I just had a question about, it seemed like all the emails were they all printed on September 11th, or were they authored on September 11th? It looks like
that was my question as well.
They're all transcribed. Those are not the original. I'm not going to show the original emails.
Okay. Go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
What is your theory of the cover up? If there's a cover up, what would your theory be of why there would be a cover up?
The strange part is, and I'm glad we're doing the show today because this is so fluid, right? This is the biggest cold case right now in the country, period. All the podcasters, their phones are ringing nonstop. The PIs nonstop. I'm getting reporters' emails, The Sun, Daily Mail, like all the people that keep saying different things. So we have to kind of keep our head in the now, right? Like this second right now, the cover up is that they missed on Ron Logan. Okay. If ISP in Carroll County found Richard Allen, good job. Congratulations. You didn't find Ron Logan. I did. And so did other people. I'm first to market. No, there is no Delphi book. I'm the first one. You can't change that. So I've already said Ron Logan. The Leos told me it was Ron Logan. I came forward risking my reputation and job for these girls too, to stick my neck out and go, Ron Logan did it. And now we have a Richard Allen with documents sealed, which is illegal. It's not even legal. Do you know there's no attorney listed for Richard Allen? Not legal. There's no attorney. So
just because one's not listed, does that mean?
Is that
no?
legal? Let me ask you guys.
No. What do you mean no attorney is listed? You mean on his booking information?
No, Richard Allen's already been brought to in front of a judge with a lawyer. They won't release who his lawyer is.
Okay.
He's already pled not guilty.
Generally for a first appearance, you're probably going to get a public defender of some sort until you can.
Okay, but I'm saying there's no.
You're going to be represented by somebody.
Yeah, but
it's not necessarily your attorney. You're going to have time to get an attorney, so to speak.
Right. But what I'm saying is all the reporters are saying to me right now, we don't know who his attorney is. There's no name.
He may be in search of an attorney. It may have been public defender number 651 that was that represented him in the probable cause arraignment hearing. Go ahead.
Let me ask you. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen there's no attorney listed for someone?
Yes.
Okay.
There is an attorney. You're missing what I'm saying. There is an attorney. There's somebody representing him. In other words, the public defender's office. This is how it works where I am. I don't know if that's how it works in Delphi, Indiana, but the public defender is assigned to this to say to first appearance court for all of the defendants for that day.
Sure.
And there's a standing order from the public defender of that area that they're not going to do any of the talking in court, that the public defender is going to do any of the talking. And then when they leave, they may be represented by their own counsel. They might, he might be trying to hire, Rodriguez from
he's going to have a famous attorney. Right. Oh yeah. This is
okay. So
have a lot of offers. Yeah.
To say that it's unverifiable that he has an attorney or that there's no attorney listed or he doesn't have an attorney. He may not have an attorney of record right now, but he has somebody representing him in probable cause hearings and such. I don't think there's any smoke to that.
Okay. Well, that's the big buzz right now in Delphi with all the reporters and all the family members is who's his attorney. And they're also asking where's the affidavits for the search warrant? Where's the evidence, the probable cause? They won't release it. They have a hearing coming in on supposedly November 21st. So that's in 3 weeks, right? That may not happen. They could push that. The lawyers can file. So look, here's my thing, because people are asking me. At first, I thought Richard Allen was a smokescreen. I told Jason, the PI, this is all BS. I was caught up in it too, man. The hype over the weekend. I'm human. I'm just like everybody else. Like, I was like, what's this? What's going on? But then I told Jason over the weekend, I got a bad feeling. I got a weird feeling about this guy. Something up. And today I got a lot of information about the truck, this white F-150 or Ford truck that was parked by the trailhead that's on a camera that they couldn't tell the license plate. Well, what kind of truck did they just tow away from Richard Allen? A silver Ford truck. So there's a lot of stuff coming up that this might be the guy. So I'm not sticking up for Richard Allen. I want to make that really clear.
You're saying is that you believe Bridge Guy is Ron Logan.
Yeah. So Ron Logan, you're saying he is involved somehow.
He's in this book. This whole book's about Ron Logan. Yeah.
I can look, let me throw out my investigative crystal ball here. If they're sealing indictments, or they're sealing affidavits of arrest, and they're sealing affidavits of search warrant, that means obviously that the investigation is continued. They're not subject to public records laws in some states because it either contains active intelligence or the investigation is still going, and it'll have to be released once the investigation is concluded. So this could mean that he is a co-conspirator and he's cooperating.
Agreed.
It could be that he's a co-conspirator and they're this close to charging the other guy with a conspiracy, but the search warrants obviously have some of the same information that the arrest warrants have. So I don't know if they recovered something in the dives, or if they how they received the information they received, or if new DNA was discovered. Perhaps Richard Allen or Ricky Allen was arrested over the weekend and they tested his DNA and boom, it popped up in a database. I mean, who knows? But that's just my prediction, that the reason they're keeping all this sealed obviously is because there's a co-conspirator and they're not through. And that's probably why they're tight-lipped about the cause of death and the manner of death.
And they've said almost as much, not anything to touch on a co-conspirator, but just in the press conference, which was yesterday morning, they didn't say a lot. They really wanted to make the press conference much more about Abbie and Libby than about much else. There wasn't a lot of information they can or will give up at this point, other than there will be a public hearing to determine after the trial, I would assume, when and if those documents will ever be released. But prior to that, they wanted to make very certain to say in no uncertain terms that this investigation is absolutely still ongoing and that the tip line is still open, and they are still encouraging anyone with any information to come forward.
I believe that I like where you're coming at, that you believe that you're saying that you're not saying that Richard Allen did not kill these folks.
He wasn't
what you're saying is that Bridge Guy, from all the evidence that you have seen, is Ron Logan. And I think that's just important to let the people in the chats know that you're not saying that Richard Allen is innocent of anything. What you're saying is that you believe Bridge Guy is definitely Ron Logan, and you kind of depict that more in your book. And I, for one, am going to buy your book, because I think it's very well played how you have kind of brought your book into this. I don't feel like I'm being oversold to or anything like that. And I do feel like you've been pretty respectful, and I appreciate that. Let me ask you this. Do you, or have you heard from these whistleblowers or through these chats with the PI, do you yourself have a motive? Was this a sexual case? Was this these kids walked into a crime scene of something else? Like maybe they saw these two guys, paying off a mob or something crazy. I don't know. Was this were they caught butt fucking on the bridge and they had to kill these girls so they don't, who knows,
Yeah. And I want to make just a quick comment too. There was a lot of information. 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 basically, there is evidence against Richard Allen that's coming out right now. And I do believe I know how they were tipped off to Richard Allen. The big question is, that's the big question right now. How did they come to Richard Allen? Okay. I can kind of tell you softly if you want to have the exclusive. I've not told anybody. Nobody knows. There's a lot of reporters I'm texting right now. They're telling me different things. There is no DNA at the crime scene per the Leos. I'm not saying there isn't, and maybe he didn't see. The Leos say there's no DNA. They say that there's a DNA hit. It's from a lab technician, someone that worked on the bodies. That's it. We thought Richard Allen was arrested. He has no record. There's no criminal record of him. So his DNA might not be in the system. They had a new law put in that if you got arrested, you had to give your DNA. I think it was from Abbie and Libby's murder. We can't find him being arrested. We don't know if his DNA is in the system. Okay. I'm not saying there's not DNA there. Maybe the Leos didn't know. They were very close to the case. Let me tell you something straight up. They were inside. They're there at his house, Logan, at the crime scene. These are not like cops 50 miles away. This is them. Okay. To go to the motive. Okay. I've worked a lot of crazy cases, and this is a sad story. If you don't want me to say how they were murdered or if they were nude, you say it right now. What do you want me to, do you want me to reveal to you that what the public does not know? Yes or no?
That's up to them. I personally would rather you didn't, but you know,
yeah, I don't need to. I mean, I'll
so.
ask you this. I would say, do you think, I'll say this, do you think this was a sexual crime? What do you think? I'm not asking for evidence. I'm not asking you for what you know. I'm just asking what your opinion. Do you think it was?
I need to use the Leos first, right? Because they're there. They saw the bodies. How they're propped up. They're staged. Okay? One's leaning up against the tree with a hoodie on. Guess what? It's not her hoodie. It's the other girl's. They're both nude. So, yes, it's sexual.
You just said it. I just asked you not to say that. Literally just.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right. Well, I mean, we just, we want to respect the family, and we also want to respect, it's one thing that, it's one thing to do stories on this because we know it gets us clicks and we know it gets us paid, but at the same time, we have to walk this fine line of we're still law enforcement officers and we're still pro the trusting the system. And I know a lot of people don't want to trust the system, but we're pro LEO, we're pro law enforcement, we love cops. We want to trust the system. We want to trust what the detectives do. All I'm asking is if you think, I'm not asking for any evidence. I'm just asking your opinion.
I got you. Okay. Yes,
from what you may or may not have heard. Do you think it was a sexual crime, or do you think it was a hate crime, or do you think it was a, like I said, a walking in on a crime? What do you think it was? You think it was a sexual crime in nature?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think that would be surprising. And we do know that the bodies were staged, right? They came out, and we have learned that when they came out about 2 years, I think, after it happened, they came out with a little bit more information, not a ton, and did reveal the fact that we know that the bodies had been manipulated, and they did leave, they let the public know that at the time.
That was relatively recent. That's when the search warrant came out. They said they looked to be staged or posed.
Well, and they actually alluded to the fact that they feel like they were moved or messed with multiple times before being found.
Sure. Yeah.
Chris,
and remember, when does Ron, let me just say this. Remember, when does Ron Logan's cell phone ping? At 8 p.m. at night on the day of the murders and at 10:15 p.m. So guess what? He walks out there with a flashlight at 8 p.m. looking for the bodies. If somebody shows up, it's his property. He's looking for him too. He's got an out. Then he sees nobody's around because they didn't find him till 12:15 the next day, almost 24 hours later. Now he sees nobody's out there. Goes, grabs a bunch of cleaner, orange cleaner, a bucket, walks back out there to the river, mixes it all up, splashes them all down with cleaner and water. That's why they find them wet. That's why their sweater's wet.
So let me ask you this, and if you've said this, please kind of reading the chats and listening to all you guys and thinking about all of this. So I could have missed it if you said it. But just before any of this, I'm not saying we're shutting it down, but for sure, before we do eventually go, what is your most compelling reason to say that without a shadow of a doubt, in terms of what you know, that Ron Logan was Bridge Guy?
It's a great question. And my shortest, simplest answer is 3 years ago, I knew it was him. Would I have bet the house based on the video, the limp, the talk? He does the interview. He walks up to the camera. He's got the same right limp in the same leg. I'm like, why does he have this? Who is this guy? Oh, he's the property owner. Oh, wait, where were the bodies found? On his property. Oh, so somebody finds 2 dead bodies in your backyard. Are you a suspect? Yes. Why didn't they kick his door in? They never did. They didn't search his house for a month. What's up? You found 2 murdered girls in this guy's backyard. So Occam's razor, first eyes, Ron Logan, right? Same hat, same jacket. When I asked the Leos, the dean came in effect. I go, let me ask you a wild question. Did he own multiple blue jackets that looked exactly like that? Yeah, he had 5 of them in his closet. Why didn't the public know that? Because he's not wearing the right jacket with the blood on it in the interview. He's got the identical jackets like Dean Kamen wears the same outfit every day. So it was just all these pieces. So to answer your question is, 3 years ago, I had a major hunch. That's why I call in my book in the first chapter, it says, first hunch is Ron Logan, okay? They all say no. They all tell me to kiss off. ISP, Keiko, the families, they starting to get mad at me. I'm like, okay, I'm out. I'm done. I got plenty of other victims that need my help. I'm gone. I leave for 2 years. One morning, 6 a.m. this year, I get an email. See the search warrant that came out? What's going on? You need to read this. Oh, whose name does it say? Ron Logan. So now if I have my first hunch is Ron Logan, and now I get a search warrant, an affidavit by a trained FBI agent saying Ron Logan and all the things that point at him, and then 2 Leos write us and go, it's Ron Logan. So to answer your question, it's all 3 of those things that say to me, Ron Logan.
So it's a fair characterization that you say Ron Logan is 100% involved, and you're right about that. You're not necessarily saying that the police are wrong about Richard Allen being involved. Correct.
I hope they're right. And to be honest, at first I was anti-Richard Allen because I'm so on Ron Logan, and it's not about the book. I didn't want to write the book. The only reason I wrote the book because the media would not let me talk. So I said to my editor, who has a deal with Powell's Book Depository, Amazon, I go, I want to talk. He goes, let's go right now. I wrote that book in like 3 weeks. Okay. I didn't know they were looking at Richard Allen on October 13th. I didn't. I had no idea. I wrote it. So there's a coincidence of my book comes out. This other deputy files a federal lawsuit against his boss, Tobe Lazenby. Why is that guy suing his boss? Do you guys follow that lawsuit right now? You can't, because they just steamrolled over it and they went after Richard Allen. So maybe these are coincidental. Maybe it's God talking to us. I don't know. All I know is I spoke my truth, and absolutely, if ISP and Keiko got Richard Allen, congratulations, great job. He needs to rot for sure. This is a sad story. This is one of the most unique situations I've ever been involved in. I did a very famous case for 5 years. This one to me it's an amazing story. And I don't want to try to say it like that, but right. The truth needs to come out. And I'm glad people like you are talking about it, and this is, the media stopped me from saying Ron Logan's name 6 months ago. Okay. And they stopped me again. So I wrote the book.
And for anyone who's not, who doesn't already know or hasn't kept up with this, Ron Logan is deceased. He passed away, I think, 2 years ago, I believe. So,
no, this year he died.
This year, excuse me. Yeah. All right. So, and not to discredit you, Chris, again, but we kind of are we can say whatever, anything can be said at this point. He is gone. So, but anyway, just to clarify, in case people haven't been keeping up or don't remember that portion of the story with Ron.
Well, I'll be interested to see. I know that we Andrea and I have another show tonight, and she is covering I'll say an amazing story. What's the story you're covering tonight?
The Austin Austin Haruf case. It involves eating of a face.
Yeah. So we're gonna get on to some true crime. Our Tuesday night show, which is Night Shift, which is all about the murder and the mayhem, and she's going to go over the story, which is how this started, right? This is how this panel started tonight.
Yeah.
Chris, I appreciate you reaching out to us, and I appreciate you talking to us. I'm interested to see how the case plays out. I do think there's so much more to this case that we don't know because that they are keeping things so tight. And listen, man, as a cop, I've worked cases personally where I had a running theory. Chris, this is a true story, bud. That I worked on murder scenes where I would come up with my own conclusion based on my own interviews. And I would say to myself, these detectives are going down the wrong path. These guys are idiots. What's wrong with these guys? And then all of a sudden, they come out, the case has been blown wide open. They make the arrest and they say, hey, so-and-so came to me and said this, and this would happen. And then I could see was like the mask had been lifted up and I could see where I was wrong and where they were right. And every single time I was wrong and they were right. But in a few moments and a few instances, only knowing what little facts I had, I thought I was right and that they had to be wrong and incompetent and whatever. And then they'd be like, oh no, little Sweezy said X, and then he put that in X, and the reason why that guy doesn't make any sense is because he was lying because he was cheating on his wife that night, and that's where that whole confusion came from. And you're like, oh shit, man, I thought you guys were dumb, but I guess. And they're like, oh yeah, and little Sweezy took us to the gun and handed us the gun. It was in his closet, and also we have his cell phone and text messages that, So I think this might be the same kind of case where it's like we might have our own evidence and we might have our own ideas and theories. But at the end of the day, the detectives probably have so much more than we have, and we're just going to have to wait and see. We're just going to have to wait and see. But I am going to get your book. I do appreciate it. If you come up with something else and you want to come back on our show, Chris, you're more than welcome to. You've been respectful and polite and kind to us, and we appreciate that. Go ahead and plug your book for us and where they can find you on Instagram or the www dots and the other interwebs.
I lost the feed. I can't hear you guys anymore, but thank you so much for having me on the show. I can't hear anybody anymore.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
In that case, we'll thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you.
Thank you.
We'll talk next time. We'll see you guys here in about 2 minutes on YouTube on the Third Stop Night Shift. Come on over for Night Shift with Andrea up late. Good night.
That's right. Good night, y'all.
Thank you.